ever see a game, either in a video, a stream, or maybe somebody you know was playing it, and you knew immediately that you had to stop the video, close the tab, unplug your friend's computer, and get your hands on the game for yourself? There are only a few games I can say that about myself, and Return of the Obra Dinn is one of them, perhaps even the top of the list. Return of the Obra Dinn is a first-person mystery point-and-click which takes place on the titular Obra Dinn, a ship which was lost at sea years before the game takes place. The objective is to identify all 60 passengers of the Obra Dinn and discover their fate. There are no time limits, no QTEs, and no combat. You're able to take as much time as you need or want while trying to deduce identities and fates, or just explore the ship and take in the unique aesthetic of the game. Monochrome is a bit rough for me personally, but boy do I get hooked in by this kind of art style. Meant to invoke the limited graphics of old Mac games, Obra Dinn is 1-bit, meaning it only has 2 colors, and no shades in between. By default, Obra Dinn's palette is a kind of off black and white. There are alternate color palettes, such as IBM 5151, which makes me want to claw my own eyes out. To achieve the goal of identifying all 60 passengers of the Obra Dinn and their fates, you're given Memento Mortem, a special pocket watch that can take the user back in time to the moment of an individual's death, if used while looking at that person's remains. When you travel back, you're first given a short intro that typically contains a bit of dialogue with one or more people, and then you're placed in a diorama. You can move around a short distance from the side of the victim's death, but time is stopped and you cannot directly interact with the environment or the people within it. You gather whatever clues you can from the scene and then leave through this magical doorway. At the same time you receive the pocket watch, you are also given a logbook with a handful of maps and sketches, as well as a complete crew manifest. The sketches were done by an artist that was on board at the time. They serve as a visual guide and even offer hints of their own to passengers' identities. Once you gather enough clues, you go to a chapter associated with the death you want to solve and enter the victim's identity and their fate, as well as the identity of their attackers, if there was one. There are a handful of mechanics that help smooth out the daunting task of deducing 60 people. First, the sketch of a victim will be blurry if the game hasn't given you enough clues to identify them yet, so you can safely move on to another deduction until you uncover more scenes. Second, the game will confirm proper deductions so you aren't left wondering and flipping information around. However, the game will only do this when you've made 3 proper deductions. This helps prevent mindlessly entering data until something clicks. Third, in cases where the cause of death may be less obvious or open to some interpretation, the game will accept multiple different answers. For example, one of the earliest deaths can be attributed to being crushed by falling rigging or clubbed, and another more minor feature is called deduction ratings. Each passenger has a rating between 1 and 3, with 3 being the most difficult. So when you come upon an unblurred passenger that has a deduction rating of 3, you can instead focus on an easier deduction and circle back around to the deduction 3 when you have more information or at least less possibilities. The crew manifest shows you the country of origin for each crew member, and their nationalities are reflected in their names, their voices, and their attire. You can use these features as identifiers and even solve some of the fates relying entirely on them. It is worth noting that basically every crew member can be identified without relying on their accent or their clothing as the only clue. These are viable tools, just not exclusive. The game takes place in Falmouth, England, in the year 1807. We play as, hold on to your seats, an insurance claims investigator for the East India Company. Exciting. A trade ship known as Obra Dinn went missing 5 years prior and has mysteriously drifted its way back to Falmouth, where it sits, rocked by the waves, not a crew member in sight. Along with the assignment, we were given a box and presumably told only to open it when we arrive aboard the Obra Dinn. I say presumably because it's never directly stated in text or during the brief conversation that you have with the ferryman who asks about the box and the inspector. A few minutes after boarding the Obra Dinn and wandering around, the ferryman will tell us he isn't going to hoist up the box like we asked him to because it's too heavy. So we return to the dinghy and open the box there, retrieving the logbook, sketches, maps, and the pocket watch. According to the preface of the logbook, written by one Henry Evans, we are to use this pocket watch to discover the identity and fates of all 60 people who were aboard the Obra Dinn during its final voyage. I want to quickly show you an example of the gameplay loop with as few spoilers as I can manage. But if you want 0 spoilers, now would be a good time to duck out and come back later.
Wait! No!
This diorama opens on us looking down at a man crushed between a crate and the cargo that was being hoisted down into the hold. One of the ropes snapped, dropping the loaded pallet onto the crew member who was hauling the cargo. Why the heck he was walking underneath the cargo that was being lowered? I'd move the crate later, dude! There are a number of other crew members on the cargo deck who are also hauling crates of barrels, a pair nearby who are watching the incident, as well as a number of other crew members looking down from the upper decks. The logbook opens and asks us who the man was and how he died. His face is still blurry, so the game doesn't think we have enough information to identify him just yet. But his cause of death is, pretty obvious. He was crushed by following cargo. Sorry, bud. From this point, we would then go to another scene, try to identify the victim, assign their cause of death, and piece together the whole story of the Obra Dinn's tragic final voyage. The scene we touched on here is actually one that you get a little bit later into the game when you're playing it normally, but it's also the least spoilery one there is. And now for the proper spoiler alert. Since Obra Dinn is a mystery game, basically everything could be considered a spoiler. Hopefully with that little snippet, you have an idea of how the game plays, how the panoramas look, the visuals, the audio design, etc., etc. If it seems interesting to you at all, I encourage you to pick it up for yourself. It really is one of those games that are best experienced firsthand. But if you want to hear my silky voice guide you through the story, well, I can't blame you. Look out for falling cargo and try not to puke too much from seasickness. Let's find out what happened to the 60 crew members of the Obra Dinn. Normally, the Obra Dinn is told in reverse chronological order, and I will be telling it in chronological order because I did 2 variations of the script, and I really preferred the chronological one, so that's the one I'm going with. And because we're going chronologically, I am just going to use their names from the drop, so here we go. The Obra Dinn is docked in Falmouth, England, loading cargo when this incident takes place. And Samuel Peters, the man crushed by the cargo, isn't the only victim in this incident. Unknown to the crew, a stowaway somehow managed to squeeze himself into one of their barrels. Well, they're obviously not on the crew manifest, so no money for you. And honestly, the biggest mystery of this chapter isn't who the stowaway is, but rather, how didn't somebody find his body? Wouldn't he have, started stinking up the cargo hold? Like, I wouldn't even care what was supposed to be in that barrel. It'd be overboard in a second if I was captain. We wouldn't even be setting sail if I was captain. After the tragedy in the cargo hold, the crew finished loading the ship and the Obra Dinn sets sail. The ship is off the coast of Portugal when the next death occurs. Solomon Syed contracted some sort of disease before setting sail, and it has finally caught up with him, claiming his life during the night. Another sailor in the hammock across from Syed is also having a rough night. The Russians who spoke during the opening are across the way playing cards.
Well?
Same as the other fellow. Some lung disease, not consumption. Made worse by the cold.
Will it spread?
If so, we'd all have it. They must have picked it up at the Alaska house. I checked all hands just now, and everyone is healthy.
And him? What are his chances?
I gave him some laudanum. We'll see.
The surgeon, Henry Evans, the same guy who gave us the box with the compass, is looking after Renfred Renjub, who is the man in the hammock across from Syed who didn't look like he was having too swell of a night either. Oh, and more importantly, sorry Renjub, there's just a monkey chilling on the bookshelf by the door. He's so cute. We see that Renjub died not too long after Syed, as his body is wrapped up just outside of the office. The final part of A Bitter Cold shows us something rather interesting about our little magical pocket watch. It works on animals as well as humans.
Take him to the cockpit. Get him wrapped and keep him left right.
Heads are here. One swing. Get through the skull and stone her brain. I'll cut her throat when you've done it.
Here?
Yeah. Come on before she kicks up. You all right there, sir?
Never been on a farm, Chuck?
Mind your shoes now.
Emil O'Farrell, the ship's butcher, is teaching the three midshipmen about killing and butchering a cow. Old Petey Milroy is holding the cow down, while Thomas Lanky strikes the cow in the skull with the blunt side of a hand axe. Charles Hirschstick is our audience surrogate and is vomiting all over the side of the pen. Evans, equipped with his shoulder monkey, is watching as Ranjub's two fellows carry his body up the stairs to the gun deck. For whatever reason, Evans in the opening asks them to take the body to the carpenter's room, which, according to the map, is on the east end of the orlop deck. Where are you going, guys?
Hello? Who is there? Who is that? Is someone hurt? Senora Nichols, is that you? What are you doing down here?
Oh, hello, yes. All fine here. Just, sorting some things.
Watch your step. Here, let me help you.
Good boy Nunzio Pasqua was just trying to make sure that nobody was hurt and is stabbed by second mate Edward Nichols. Poor choice of a second mate. Behind him, Hoksang Lao, one of the Formosan passengers, has been knocked out from a blow to his head. The room next to him is open. Inside is a fancy chest with its bottom drawer open. Sitting in the drawer is what can only be described as a super shiny shell. Like, really shiny. Nothing moves in any of these dioramas except for the glow off of this thing. If that doesn't scream incredibly shiny and magical, I don't know what does.
Hokseng Lao, you have been found guilty by self-confession of the murder of Nunzio Pasqua.
Quiet.
As captain of this ship, and by the authority of the East India Company, and thus the Crown of England, I sentence you to death by firing line. Mr. Wolf, when you are ready.
Right, sir. Ready, men. Aim. Fire!
Nichols frames Lau for Pasqua's murder. On the main deck, Lau is bound hand and foot, suspended by the waist from the mast. Four men act as his firing squad: Patrick O'Hagan, John Naples, Alexei Toporov, and Henry Brennan. Following the command of the ship's captain, Robert Witterell, and the ship's gunner, Christian Wolfe, badass name by the way, all four men fired, but only Brennan managed to hit. It's It's not like the other three missed by a lot, but I mean, come on, guys, you weren't that far away. This is a busy scene. Only one other scene in the game has as many people present as this one does. And it is also the scene depicted in the Justice at Sea sketch. The artist, Edward Spratt, can be seen at the far end of the scene sketching it out. Oh, and the monkey is riding a goat.
On your toes. We best prepare.
Go back.
Here.
Captain!
Slack the lifts and lower the boats! The whole crew will be on us!
Give it up.
Nichols has convinced a few members of the crew to mutiny with him and has taken 2 of the 3 Formosan passengers hostage, Bunlan Lim and Itbang Xia. Nichols and his mutineers non-fatally clubbed Lars Lind and Lanky. That's a lot of L's. And somebody has stabbed the helmsman, Finley Dalton, in the thigh with a spear, which is actually a pretty great plan because, according to the crew manifest, he is the only helmsman, and I have not enough knowledge about boats to say if anybody else on the ship should be qualified to sail it. Based on pop culture, say that the captain is, but with him out of the way, it's going to be very hard for them to get caught.
Keep course due east. You'll reach the Canaries in 3 days. You packed enough stores?
Aye, sir. Checked and loaded them myself.
Good. Stay quiet and alert. If the wind picks up, we've no chance against the Obra Dinn.
休假，你玩抓不？
我冇問題，但是伊嚟想啊，絕對袂當互伊落去水底。
那是遐个怪物出现，你绝对卖起来。
Aye, shut it up.
They say strange things about monsters.
A mermaid has popped up from the devil's bathtub and hucks a spear, impaling Li Hong through the stomach. And suddenly, the return of the Obra Dinn is more than just a tale of unfortunate deaths and how awful the ship's second mate is. Now it's a world with actual sea monsters, and not just like the regular monsters that normally inhabit the sea. Itbang Xia, who was sitting behind Hong, was both quick and lucky enough to just barely, and I'm talking trim your nose hairs, dodge the spear, which pierced all the way through the victim. That's one hell of an arm, girl. Damn.
Keep rowing!
伊咩過嚟啊？你只
Where is it? There, something there.
I see it!
Give us a weapon.
休假，卖起来！
Pick up the oars and row, you fools!
The spear-hurling mermaid is pulling a Larkus Nikishin out of the boat and clawing his chest. Xia is using the spear tip to cut the ropes around his wrist. And meanwhile, the other boat is just having a grand old time. Another mermaid has popped up and impaled O'Hagan straight through the neck. This mermaid has a shell just like the one in the chest, and it's tied in her hair. A third mermaid is diving below the waves between the 2 boats, showing us that the mermaids have spines not only along their back, but also the length of their tail. This scene answers a fundamental question that I had about Return of the Obra Dinn. Whether or not magical items like the pocket watch are a known power in this world or not. We can say that the mermaids were, at most, myths like they are in our world. These people were not at all prepared for a mermaid attack. I mean, if mermaids were a known problem for sailors, they would have prepared somehow. Nets, harpoons of their own, spoons, something. But instead, these men are caught completely off guard. This suggests that the mermaids avoid interacting with sailors, helping to keep them securely in the silly myth category. So these ladies must be attacking the sailors for a reason. The ever-gleaming shells.
O'Hagan, you still breathing? Can you row?
Nope.
Nichols, sir, shoot them for God's sake.
The shellless mermaid is reaching towards Xia, who is stabbing the second mate's steward, Samuel Galligan, through the neck with a knife. Meanwhile, the second boat is being attacked by the other 2 mermaids. The spear thrower is clawing Lim's face and throat, while the second pulls Alexei overboard. And Nichols. Nichols. The little quack is curled up in a ball in the bottom of the boat. Normally, I wouldn't hold this exact behavior against anybody. He's literally surrounded by nightmare liquid that kills you if you drink it instead of giving you sweet, sweet nourishment. Cruel slop that houses hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands of nasty, gross things that shouldn't even exist. He's inches away from one of the most brutal deaths that there is, no matter which of the ways he succumbs to. But this little quack murdered a random passenger that was just checking to make sure that he was okay, and then assaulted another passenger for no other reason than to look at what was inside of the fancy chest. We don't have a lick of evidence to suggest that he knew that the ever-gleaming seashell was even in there. He just wanted to know what was in the box. Then he frames the guy he assaulted for killing the passenger that he kills, and it seems like the Formosans couldn't even argue that Hoksang Lao didn't kill Pasqua. And even if they could, they were completely outnumbered, and they would be accusing a high-ranking officer of the ship that they are passengers on. He frames a man who can do literally nothing to defend himself. Then he proceeds to murder a crewmate, his own subordinate, and now he's completely abandoning his co-conspirators. He's the only one with a gun. He's a quack. And that's that. Xia has taken the shell from the chest and plunged it into this strange liquid that's in the top of the chest. Bolts of light coming from the liquid in the chest strike all the mermaids, even the one that is currently under the waves. Xia has burned to death, the arm that he plunged into the liquid still on fire. Nichols is finally doing something and has gotten the two lifeboats side by side. He's tossed the bodies of Hong and O'Hagan overboard and pulled the mermaids into the lifeboat.
Ahoy!
Hell back! The captain!
Ahoy!
Recovers aboard!
Wait! Don't shoot!
Avast!
I have treasure! I yield!
Hold your fire!
Nichols has finally found his way back to the Obra Dinn, and he's gotten himself a bullet to the belly for all the trouble. Fitting, if I do say so myself. We can thank the last Formosan, Chiao Tan, for doing what we all wanted to do by this point.
Lift this out and take it below.
What the hell is going on? What do you know about these things? About the chest and your dead friends?
这是虾米？回来，全部供出来！
拢是恁害啦！迄个害得较必然无过好，是人稳死的啊！
He talk about the shell. Very dangerous.
Shell? What shell?
The shellless mermaid swings her tail and launches spikes from it. Two barely miss, while a third impales Tan and Amadou Diam, who was holding him during the interrogation.
Watch your footing!
Hey there, what's this? Give it to me and I can fry us a solid meal, boys.
Careful now. Take it slow.
What's it, gentlemen? There's a pretty shell here. Let's have a look.
No, get back!
For some reason, seeing the mermaids were both hostile and capable of shooting tail missiles didn't cause the captain to think, maybe we don't load them onto our boat. The cook, Thomas Sefton, has gotten himself whacked with a mermaid's tail when he tried to take her shell from her. He didn't get spiked or anything. The mermaid one-shot him with her tail. Are we sure that we want to take them on board, Captain? When the mermaid flailed to whack Sefton, she threw them in carrying her off balance. The men on the lower half stumbled down the stairs, one dodging completely out of the way. The other, William Wasim, wasn't able to get out of the way in time and was crushed between the stretcher and the barrel at the bottom of the stairs. Somehow, things have gone even more sideways than before.
Keep pressure here.
Hold him down. What madness is this? 20 years my steward, and never a doubt on your sanity. Explain yourself.
Those ungodly beasts carry a curse! Throw them back or doom us all!
Tie him up and put him in the lazarette with those things. He may yet find his senses.
Come on.
All's fine, John. Been in worse spots, I think. Where's the rest of his leg?
This diorama opens with us looking down at John Naples, whose leg has been cut off. Not badly wounded. Cut completely off. How the captain's steward, Philip Dahl, cut off Naples' leg with a cutlass and is now being carried away via his belt by Charles Minor, the bosun's mate. Lee has the misfortune of being 1 in a million and being struck by a huge bolt of lightning while climbing to the mast. A bunch of other topmen are already on the mast, including Omid Ghoul, who I'm including just because he doesn't look like he is having a great time out on the mast. Looking down toward the deck, we can see Nicholas Botterill climbing down the netting, rigging, whatever the heck this is called, while another thing mounted on a giant spider crab is climbing up the side of the boat. The crab man has impaled Botterill with a jagged spear. Half of the seamen on deck are watching Botterill's murder, while the other half are looking on as another crab rider climbs up the ship on the opposite side.
What's going on?
Stay back! It's already going to the neck.
Hey! Come on, boss! No, get there! Hey! Cat!
The now spearless crab rider has made it below deck and is halfway towards the orlop deck. Marcus Gibbs, the carpenter's apprentice, attempted to help fight the crab rider by throwing a hand axe at it, but the crab deflected it. The crab rider retaliated with a handful of spines. One has already pierced through Gibbs' chest and taken his life, while another 2 are set to follow. A third went wide and is on trajectory to puncture the shoulder of Winston Smith. Above deck, a second crab rider is closing in on the staircase, staring out over the main deck. Why include this little detail, you might be wondering? Well, walking around the winching device, we can find Abraham Akbar squeezed up against the winch. Hell yeah, Abraham, you sneaky boy. I would be right there with you. You know, if there was room or I could ever be convinced to step foot on a boat.
We're no use!
The spearless crab rider is now on the orlop deck. The crab has grabbed James Wallace and Ji Zhang with its large pincers and is decapitating both of them. O'Farrell, armed with a pry bar as a makeshift spear, is the one we heard calling out in the opening for them to burn the crab and his rider. Speaking of the rider, it's twisted in its seat, throwing a handful of spikes back towards the stairs it descended, attempting to strike first mate William Hoskett, who is aiming a rifle at the second crab rider. Hershtick, our little barfy boy, has hurled his lantern at the spearless crab rider. On the deck above, the second crab rider is headed down the stairs from the main deck. The fourth mate, John Davies, is armed with a sword and preparing to attack, while Ghoul, armed with a scimitar, is fearlessly charging in to help. Hell yeah, Ghoul! Nathan Peters, one of the seamen who was carrying the mermaid stretcher, has grabbed the now injured Smith and pulled him behind cover. The crab rider, set on fire by the lantern, has impaled Hershtick on its spikes. The crab has collapsed to the ground, oozing dark blood. Before dying, the crab rider killed another man and injured a third. It impaled O'Farrell with 3 of its spikes, hitting him to the wall and killing him. Rest in peace, Emil O'Farrell. In the chaos of the moment, you threw out the perfect suggestion. Her stick set the crab on fire, and within the next scene, it was dead. Zungi Sathi, the ship's steward, was impaled through the stomach with a single spike and can be seen crawling toward the port walk.
I've got you. Don't move. I'll get you down.
Evans is lifting Emil's body from the wall as Peters opens the stairs to the cargo hold. Milroy is dousing the bodies of Hershtick, the crab, and the crab rider. Smith asks for the hand mortar from the bosun, Alfred Klestel.
Secure the hold. Someone shoot the damn thing!
Sathi, leaning against the port walk wall, is accidentally killed by Charles Minor when Minor misses his shot against the second crab rider. The second crab rider has made it to the cargo deck, knocking Smith to the ground and pinning him with 2 of its pointed legs. In return, Smith fires the hand mortar at near point-blank range into the undercarriage of the crab. Peters, hidden behind the stairs, has stabbed the crab with a spear. And I can't tell if this is actually really brilliant or not at all. Because, yeah, the stairs do provide some cover, but the crab is very capable of sticking its pokey little feet between those stairs, and if it does that, well, you've got nowhere to go. Still, bravo to Peters for trying. I would just be curled up into a ball back there. Seaman Alexander Booth also tried to stab the crab, but the crab grabbed the spear with one of its pincers. No, I did not mean for that to rhyme. It is just the facts.
Let me on. Over my dead body, you bloody Dane.
Huh? How's that?
There's no cause for trouble, boys. Get in the boat.
Thought I'd forget. You killed my brother.
What? That was an accident.
The robes.
It wasn't his fault. I saw the whole thing.
Lies. I shouldn't have waited so long.
No, don't.
The men attempting to abandon ship are Duncan McKay, the ship's purser, Booth, and Peters. Lind, carrying a knife and a lantern, was the one who asked to board the boat, but received a club to the face in response. A, that is one hell of a swing, Peters. He one-shot Lind with that club. B, that said, I have to retract any and all praise I may have given to Nathan Peters up until this point, because he is dumb as hell. Let's pop back over to loose cargo again, shall we? That person right there is Lind. How could anything of what happened in this scene be his fault? I've seen people suggest that Lind may have cut the ropes, but how would he have even known that Samuel was going to walk under the cargo? How on earth would he have gotten away with that? A bunch of guys are watching the cargo be lowered. They would have noticed him immediately. You big dummy? Nothing that I can say will do this next scene justice. I am just gonna let it completely stand on its own. Well, guys, it's really gone sideways now. A literal kraken is attacking the ship. A kraken! It's grabbed hold of one of the cannons, crushing Akbar to death while grabbing Wolf and pointing the cannon straight at him. George Shirley is trying to peel the tentacle off of Wolf, and I appreciate the enthusiasm, but no amount of nat 20s are going to help us now, Shirley. In the next alcove, Brennan, Lewis Walker, Leonid Volkov, and Maba are manning 2 more cannons. Despite Shirley's valiant efforts, Wolf receives a point-blank cannon blast, killing him instantly. Shirley is nowhere to be found. The force from the blast sends the cannon through the dividing wall, barely missing Brennan.
What's happening? Sir, loose the cannon! She's nearly over! Watch your flank!
Roderick Anderson, the third mate's steward, is crushed to death by a loose cannon when the ship lists. The third mate is not far behind, vaulting over loose cargo, reaching out towards him. And Volkov is, I don't know what he's doing. He's standing next to Wolf's remains, and it looks like he's reaching for them, maybe to move them. I don't know. But whatever he's up to, he's distracted by Anderson's death.
Get to the main bit, quick!
Milroy is killed when... Well, the wiki says it's from a hand mortar, which is also what they called this gun thing that Smith used. But it's this bag thing that did it. Maybe it's the ammo? I have no idea, but he explodes. That I can say. The Kraken grabbed him, and Lanky was attempting to pull him free with a rope, which is super sad because there is zero chance that is going to work, but he's desperate. Aw, Tommy. Maba stabs his cutlass through one of the tentacles, but is then lifted into the air and torn in half. And Miner here has the most accurate expression possible. And I feel like it matches perfectly with basically everyone who sees this scene. Lanky continues to break my heart as he can be seen collapsed on the deck, clinging to the winching device, not even trying to continue the fight. Aldous Wider, the gunner's mate, is arming the men on deck, tossing a rifle to Klestel. Both Davies and Perot are already armed. In the distance, we can see that the cheeky Kraken has grabbed the lifeboat with Booth, McKay, and Peters and has upended it, tossing the men into the stormy sea. From what seems like completely just spite. Also, I guess that must... Okay, I hadn't thought about it until just now. That either means that this attack takes place very, very, very close to the men getting on the boat and escaping, or, God forbid, this Kraken is huge because he reached all the way back there and then flipped that boat over. Oh, God. Now, this is where the chronology gets a little wonky. There's a chapter called Bargain, which you normally wouldn't get until after you've seen every other scene and left the ship. The events of Bargain are not chronological to themselves, with one part taking place anywhere between now and Holy Captives, another taking place around now, and another taking place a little while after that. I'm going to insert the pieces of the Bargain here where they would belong roughly chronologically. So there's going to be a little bit of jumping, but hopefully it won't be too noticeable.
this? Quicksilver. Herregud.
Doll, at some point after being placed into the lazarette, escapes his binds and opens the top of the ornate chest, where he sees the strange substance inside. He calls it Quicksilver, which gives us an idea of what it looks like, but given what it does to you, it's probably something else. That or the ever-gleaming shells have a weird reaction when combined with Quicksilver. Doll must be able to see the gleam of the shell through the liquid because even though he's superstitious to the point of cutting his own crewmate and subordinate's leg off because he no lucky the mermaids, he plunges his hand into the liquid. He doesn't kind of like poke at it with a pinky, doesn't feel it out, doesn't put anything else in it to see what it does. No, he just sticks his hand right in there. Screaming, he pulls out the shell and burns to death, just like it bangs Xia. These events probably take place a little earlier than where I've put them, but it's hard to say. It just seemed the least intrusive to include it now, where we can follow it up with another couple pieces of the chapter.
Call it off, damn you! This is your Kraken! You brought it here! Send it back!
As the Kraken attacks, Witterel goes to the cargo hold. Doll is dead, the shell gleaming in his lap, but Witterel pays him no mind. He threatens the mermaids, shooting one. Abigail Hoskett Witterel is struck by a piece of the rigging. At first it seems like a freak accident, but actually it's the freakishly large squid monster attacking the ship that did it. Two of its tentacles are wrapped around the pole. Perot is dodging out of the way. Wei Li has gone from holding a hand mortar in one of the previous scenes to being pulled off the rigging by the cracking. What was he doing up there? Finley Dalton has gone from having a bad night where he got stabbed in the thigh to having a kraken pull him off the ship by his leg. Speaking of bad nights, Klestel's arm is currently being grabbed by the Kraken, and this is bound to end well. Not at all like what happened to Mama. It's learned its lesson. You need to be gentler with humans.
I'll kill every last one of you monsters. Withdraw the Kraken, or I will kill you all!
Witterel moves on to the second mermaid, again demanding they stop the Kraken or he'll kill all of them. He stabs the second mermaid to death with a spear.
Put me down! Let go!
Easy now, you're in a bad way.
It's the squid. Where is my Frenchman?
The squid's gone. Your mate was torn apart.
That. The beast is dead. How? How did you kill it?
We didn't. It left with the storm. Captain came up from the hold. Said he chased it off. You should rest.
A curse like that does not live for nothing.
Davies and Wyatter have carried Klestel below deck to the officers' mess. Resist the urge to make a joke about how the mess is now messier. Given that the Kraken just up and left, the captain's brutal tactic to save his crew must have paid off. The captain is headed up the stairs. Poor guy has no idea he's about to get the worst news of his life when he gets above deck. Hoskett is leaving his cabin, and Lanky is seen coming up from the orlop deck.
A third shell! Captain didn't toss them all! Leave it! Help me lift this! Stop! Why? Well, set you free! Give it the shell! Here! Do it! Hoist it out. To the main deck. Throw it over. Lock the door when you leave. Get the tail, boy. In return, the ship. The Obra Dinn. See it home.
Perot recruited 2 stewards, Davy James and Paul Moss, and went to the lazarette. Perot is impaled with spikes when the cell is opened, and the mermaid thrashes her tail at him. As James and Moss carry the mermaid, who is clutching the shell to her chest, Perot strikes the second bargain of the so-named chapter.
There you are. Collect your things.
Where's the key?
To that door. Gone.
Damn.
There's no time. We need to go.
Right.
There you go. What are you up to?
Sometime after tossing the mermaids overboard, Moss searches for and finds Evans in the cargo hold, looking into the lazarette. When Evans realizes that Moss and James locked the lazarette and that the key is now gone, he ties a rope around his pet monkey and sends it through the window into the lazarette. Much to the justifiable confusion of Moss, Evans then shoots the poor monkey. Bye-bye, little monkey. You were a fuzzy light on this horrible voyage.
Last one. Move quick.
You'll not take the last part!
Oh, look out!
Let them
Meanwhile, above deck, Leonid is not on board with not being on board the last lifeboat and has killed Paul Moss. And to be completely fair to Leonid, I get it. He's seen the crab riders. He's seen the Kraken. The crew is down to like 1 seaman, 2 topmen, and precisely 0 helmsmen. Granted, they have a lot of extra supplies now, but can you even operate a ship of this size with the skelly ghost crew that's left over? Below deck, Lanky can be seen eavesdropping on Wilder and Davies.
Let them go!
There are 4 passengers on the lifeboat: Miss Jane Bird, Henry Evans, Davy James, and Emily Jackson. And Mrs. Jackson is having none of Leonid because she whips out a rifle, and I have no idea how she has it, but she shoots Leonid straight in the chest.
Get off. Captain cannot be trusted. You have a plan?
Yes. Take ship and sail east. Trade treasured fish and shells for gold. Hey, who's there?
Mutiny! Mutiny!
British bastard!
No!
Alice catches Lanky and stabs him in the back, and damn, he is bleeding a lot. Oh God. Henry, don't leave yet! Nah, he's already gone. Hoskett and Brennan, who were trying to stop Leonid before, heard Lanky's cries of mutiny, and doubtlessly also the sound of Davies removing Wilder's face with a pistol.
What's all this, you damn fool?
Brennan handles the situation like a disappointed parent. He barrels down the stairs and just says, "What's all this, you damn fool?" Like his superior did just shoot another officer's face off? He then proceeds to club his superior over the head with no hesitation. If Brennan could just chill for like 30 seconds, he would see the gigantic blood trail. Maybe Davies could explain where that gigantic blood trail came from. See, this is why Hoskett is first mate, and you're just a seaman, Brennan. He saw the trail of blood, Brennan.
Oh no, you're cut.
Don't leave me.
Bear up, son. I'll stay with you.
Tell Pete's mother I tried my best.
Aye.
To pull him back, to save him.
You tell her yourself. Brennan! Bring the surgeons, kid!
And Timmy. Timmy. He's not the sharpest tool in the shed. I will give you that. But he has a lot of heart, and he takes your heart and he just squeezes. After being stabbed, he's crawled his way back to his cabin, and his final words are, "Tell my buddy's mom I'm sorry, because I tried, man. You really did, Timmy. You really did."
Captain! Open the door! Kick it in. Lest we break it down and take more than those shells!
You bastards may take exactly what I give you!
Hoskett is shot through his chest, and for some reason, Brennan is just like, "What? What did you think was gonna happen?" Walker is hurrying up the stairs up onto the, poop deck. That's the poop deck? I have heard jokes throughout my childhood about the poop deck because, yeah, low-hanging fruit, but I had no idea what part of the ship it was.
Where are they? Must be in here someplace.
They're at the bottom of the sea.
That's a lie.
Brennan grabbed one of the mini pry bar spear thingies that are apparently just spread across the entire ship and somehow managed to lose a fight with the captain who only has a knife? Literal pulls what I can only describe as action hero, and after being stabbed in his side by Lewis, and not like cute little stab, but nearly like to the hilt stab, he grabs Brennan's pry bar, and he backhand swings it hard enough to cave in Lewis's brow.
Abigail, your brother, my friend, I shot him dead. I'll be with you soon, my love. Please forgive me for everything.
Witterell, having killed the 3 mutineers, is now the last living soul aboard the Obra Dinn. He sits near his wife's lifeless body, reloads his pistol, and turns it on himself. In the intro, I put an awful lot of weight on The Return of the Obra Dinn when I said it was one of the few games that I have immediately bought when I saw it for the first time. It's hard to convey the joy of going into one of these dioramas and finding a clue, especially like the really subtle ones. The story of Return of the Obra Dinn isn't a complex spiderweb filled with side plots and deep character motivations, but you're told only as much as you need to know, and that is my favorite method of storytelling. There's plenty of room to interpret and theorize with Obra Dinn's quote-unquote simple plot. Why did Witterell toss 2 shells overboard, but then leave the 3rd in Dahl's lap? What is the liquid in the chest? Are mermaids able to curse and bewitch people, or is it the shells that do that? Some questions you have can be answered by going back through the plot and dioramas and noticing a little clue that you missed the first time, and others remain to be theorized about by using the subtle world building. If I were a game designer, perish the thought, I think Return of the Obra Dinn would be on my list of mandatory study, especially for all the aspiring solo or small game dev designers out there. The meticulous, stylized graphics, punchy narrative, the beautiful soundtrack, the on-point sound design, and the addictive success ditty, the clean gameplay loop, and how everything comes together in a detective game that manages to make you feel like you actually achieved something. You really made that deduction There are a few cons, 3 flaws, if you will. You can't move faster, which is a total bummer when you're in the later stages of the game and want to go back to revisit a scene on a different level inside of the ship. You can't press a button to end the initial vision and get into the free roam mode while viewing a scene for the first time, and you can't skip the EverQuest find trail when it's leading you to a body that you saw in a vision. And the biggest flaw of them all, somehow Return of the Obra Dinn has not inspired mimics and lookalikes of any note. I would love to see Obra Dinn's concept and mechanics given a twist in a new setting and style, but I guess I'll just grumble about that when I play my nth Stardew Valley lookalike. Check out this video about At Dead of Night, another solo dev gem of a game. See you there!